Good evening. It's 8 o'clock, live from Johannesburg. I'm Sally Baudet. Your top stories tonight.
The perpetrators of the great bank heist must be locked up.
The finance minister delivers the stark truth about our economy, plagued by corruption, a troubled tax collection authority and faltering growth, but some rays of hope to stimulate growth and provide for the poor. All the mini-budget news and reaction. Sadness and disbelief over the sudden passing of HP Jabulani Tsambo. And investigators into the string of bombings in Durban malls and mosques say they have proof the suspects were inspired by ISIS. But does that mean they were acting on orders from the militant group? Minister Tito Mboweni delivered his maiden mini-budget speech this afternoon in Cape Town. He was depressingly honest about the challenges we face. Debt is growing too fast, growth is stuttering, corruption is crippling, and SARS is not collecting enough tax to cover the bills. But, and there is a but, there were some silver linings today and a sign the government is drawing a firm line on wasteful expenditure.
The wage bill remains the biggest cost pressure on the budget. Over time, wages have crowded out other goods and services and capital investment, particularly in health, education, and defense. The Giyani Water Project is plagued by malfeasance. It is a cesspool of corruption. The perpetrators of the great bank heist must be locked up after a fair trial. In the reconfiguration of state-owned enterprises, there must be no holy cows. In 2018-2019, government will provide additional funding to SAA and South African Express Airways. If we want the road network to work, we must therefore pay our tolls.
Well, Paladi Satusa spoke to opposition parties after the finance minister's speech.
Opposition MPs have called the medium-term policy statement vague and disappointing in as far as addressing the country's economic slump.
His maiden medium-term policy statement is underwhelming in the manner in which that it has given the correct diagnosis in terms of lower revenue base, low economic growth, but there's no believable strategies in terms of how do we then reignite economic activity in South Africa to achieve maximum growth.
We did see about 15.9 billion rands worth of expenditure being reprioritized towards spending on infrastructure, which we would certainly support. But how it will be spent and how that 15.9 billion rand will be distributed over the medium term is unclear.
I don't think that it went as far as I had hoped he would myself, because with the petrol price going up, with everything, with the state-owned enterprises doing badly, I thought it was like music to me when he said that the state-owned enterprises are going to be reconsidered.
The president for the medium term could do something about a cabinet of 73 men and women, and then therefore save money from there so that he can make it available to the Minister of Finance to patch up where the money is at.
Even the positives, they say, come with unintended consequences.
There were some positive sounds from him. For instance, the fact that as far as the salaries are concerned and state departments, where they are already 30.2 billion overspent and he's not going to allocate any more money to them. The problem is, what are these departments are going to do? They will have to get rid of some people with retrenchment, and that is going to be also detrimental to the service delivery.
Criticisms aside, there was shared relief that it doesn't seem taxes will increase anytime soon and that some products will be zero-rated. Piladi Situsa, Parliament.
Newsnight anchor Vuyo Mvoko is in Cape Town and joins us now. Good evening to you, Vuyo. Thank you so much for joining us. This issue of the wage bill, he mentioned it last week. He was very clear today that it is a really big problem. How on earth is he going to navigate this issue in an election season with a labour force that will simply go on strike?
Well, I actually asked him, Sally, to say, look, as soon as you made the remarks that you made, your own allies in COSATU were the first to say that shouldn't be an issue, because what's happening within state departments and state-owned enterprises has got nothing to do with the size and, of course, the bill, the salary bill of those public servants. And he said, you know what? Remember, I'm formerly a labor minister. When things like these get raised, of course, people stand up and say, look, you're not going to do that, and so on. But if you look at the history of our country, where we've come from, we've managed to resolve these issues. Not only that, as a labor minister, I remember the time when we had to make changes to the labor laws in this country, and COSATU was up in arms. But look where we are now. Everybody managed to find one another. And I found that incredible, because there was a great degree of assurance there. Not only that, he made also two points, which when he said that, one, if you look at that wage bill, it doesn't go where it's supposed to go, to the workers themselves. The bulk of it goes to fatten even further the salaries of the people who are higher up in the echelons of these state-owned enterprises and departments.
So he's not actually targeting the poor workers so much as the fat cats at the top. And he also said there are no holy cows regarding state-owned enterprises. He said that very strong line. But at the same time, next breath, he announces yet another bailout for SAA.
Well, I actually asked him about that bailout, and I raised the fact that when President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that stimulus package at the union buildings, I asked his predecessor, Nhlanhla Nene, what he was going to do specifically with South African Airways, South African Express, and Mango. And one point that Nhlanhla Nene raised at the time was that whatever it is that you are going to do about these state-owned enterprises, which he clearly indicated they were not about to dump, he said whatever you do, you can't take them to the market in the hope that someone will be interested to be a strategic equity partner, when in fact it is on its knees. You've got to pump money into it, and that's just a fact. And another point he raised was that South Africa was not ready just yet to actually get rid of them. And Tito Mboweni just said as much, that as much as we would like to take a different course, but we've got to make sure that we stick to the fundamentals, and whatever happens next, we still have to make it attractive to potential investors. But he said a lot is going to go into that, and he will not, and he said this not perhaps in as many words, but he did say that right now, the medium-term budget statement was essentially about a pact that he's going to have with all stakeholders, big business, the workers, civil society, everybody, and he dare not fail any of those constituencies. So whatever happens, he seemed confident that it will strike a chord and it will make everybody will come out of it happy.
He certainly did seem very confident. Thank you very much, Vuyo Mvoko. Like perhaps drawing a line in the sand. And let's discuss this further now with Motheo Goripe. Now, Motheo, what the Finance Minister said about debt is extremely troubling. Tell us why.
Well, it's very troubling, because if you look at South Africa as an individual, then you would see that for every 100 Rand that we earn, about close to 59 Rand will be spent on debt. And that's very concerning to the market as well as the country as well, because in terms of paying for services that normal South Africans use on a day-to-day, that money would rather go there. But we're busy using that money to service costs. It's actually going up by 10% each year, currently at about 180 187 billion for that debt service cost, and is forecast to go up to about 247. So it's a lot for him to work around and also speak to South Africa's fiscal path. And there will be a lot of interest from the ratings agencies about our fiscal path. We spoke a lot about growth today, but not too much about the cutting of expenditure.
Well, let's go through the indicators now, and as we go through the indicators, let's just chat about the sense you're getting, because he did announce lots of plans to stimulate the economy, to direct funds in the right place and right direction. Now, we're being watched internationally. Do you get a sense from the markets as we're looking at them now whether that message is being well received, or whether that debt burden is the big worry for everyone, in fact?
Well, definitely when he first spoke about that debt that came through today, as we see, markets are quite weaker today. The All-Share down by 0.5%. Industrials were down today, actually just marked that as down in terms of industrials, because Naspers was also dragging the market down. Financials were up today by more than 0.5%. But the market having differing opinions, some saying it was a positive message, given that he was very honest about South Africa's situation and also quite, frank about what needs to be done. Some saying that this gives Moody's little space to move, so Moody's might have to actually downgrade us after we say our growth is down, our debt service costs are up, and our budget deficit is up to 4%. But gold was down today as well. Platinum also down by more than 1%, and that bloodbath also for the mining sector down by 0.5% in terms of resources. Commodity prices, gold is at $1,228 an ounce, and platinum was up marginally today, with Brent crude at $77 a barrel.
Quick look at the rand.
Well, the rand did change its course. It was up earlier in the morning at 14 rand 22 around 11. But as soon as the minister started speaking, it started to weaken. And the more bad news he came out with in terms of that speech, we saw the rand also falling at 14 rand 57 against the greenback now, 16 rand 57 against the euro, and all down against the pound at 18 rand 75 cents.
Thank you very much for those insights, Moteo Garipe. Let's move to other news now. And this afternoon, very sad news that hip-hop musician Jabulani Tsambo, better known as WHP, had died. Details surrounding his death are not known, but he was always open about his struggles with depression. Now, Twitter's being flooded with messages from heartbroken fans and colleagues in the music industry. WHP was born on the 14th of September 1980. His first stage name, Hip Hop Pantsula, which was then shortened to WHP. He was popular for rapping in Setswana, becoming one of the first Motswana artists in the country. Here's his producer.
Musically, Jabba is a genius, if I may put it that way. Jabba has got craziest ideas when it comes to music. Jabba would take one line and expand it into being one of the greatest songs ever. You know, working with him in the studio was the kind of guy that he would just come into the studio, listen to a song, bump his head, hide behind the curtains. 2 minutes, 5 minutes down the line, he's going into the booth and he's got a complete track written in his head, you know. So I would say Jabba was, or Jabba is, a creative genius.
Very sad. Still ahead, we've got international news. We'll go to New York, where police are on high alert following the discovery of suspicious devices, one of them sent to the former president, Barack Obama. To Durban now, investigators believe the string of bombings that occurred earlier this year at malls and mosques were inspired by ISIS. A group of men has been arrested in connection with the planting of devices at various locations. Investigators say they found ISIS flags and bomb-making instructions at the home of some of the suspects. But does that mean they were acting on orders from the group or merely inspired by them? Desan Thathia takes a look at what's been revealed in the Verulam Magistrates Court so far.
On the outside, this house is no different to all the others on this street, but it's been serving as a training facility for terrorists. That's what the state alleges in opposing bail of 11 of the men accused of planting explosives in the city. They are also linked to a murder at the Imam Hussein Shia Mosque in May, as well as the kidnapping of a local businessman. Court papers detail how ISIS flags, propaganda, and bomb-making manuals were apparently discovered inside this house during a raid by the Hawks. Investigators say local businessman Farhad Huma is the mastermind, who also recruited his co-accused. And by his own admission, his monthly turnover is 5 million rand. The state alleges this group of men is supportive of ISIS and its teachings about financial jihad. This involves punishment of non-believers by robbing them of their wealth. A few kilometers away from the first property is Huma's second home, where police made most of the arrests and apparently found an incendiary device. However, Huma and his co-accused, including a priest, have denied any involvement.
Our community, and a broader concept, is simply not open to these types of takfir ideology by the Islamic State. But it does not take a lot of people to create mayhem. That we must also understand. And hence, whatever the case now may be, and the fact that this has been made public, there's immense responsibility on the police and the Hawks to conclude this case with hardcore evidence for the public to be informed on a factual basis.
Muslim leaders here did not want to be interviewed on camera, but they have condemned the alleged terrorist activities. They say until now, they were not aware of any extremist behavior in their midst. The bail application continues in the Verulam Magistrates Court on Thursday. Desan Thathia, Durban.
Moving to the USA, the Time Warner building in New York has been evacuated. A suspicious package, which the bomb squad believes to be an explosive device, was found in CNN's mailroom. The NYPD says they have the situation under control. 2 news anchors were on air when the fire alarm went off. Similar packages were mailed to former US President Barack Obama and ex-presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Ahead, we'll go to Joel at our weather centre. Hi, Joel. And then, of course, it is a very sad day, but we're going to honour the man, Double HP, and his music. We go to Cape Town now. Joel Guy standing by with all the weather news. Hey there, Joel. Heading into the weekend slowly. For the next 3 days, we're on freewheel to Friday.
Yes, Sally, we have hot weather that has set in across much of South Africa, and it's going to continue to warm up in most areas. And we also have heatwave conditions going on over the western areas, including the Western Cape. Now, all this is because of this area of high pressure sitting right over the center of the country, and it's pretty big, and it is steering big winds into the western and southern parts of the country. Now, this is going to allow for a warm night once again over the western parts of the country. It will be mild for the central and southeastern areas as we head towards Thursday morning, but a cool night and a cool morning is focused over the eastern provinces. Then for the rest of your Thursday, it will be mostly sunny and warm to hot for the bulk of South Africa, all the way from the western interior into the eastern sections. We will see partly cloudy skies, however, over eastern Limpopo. Then over the western sections, heat wave conditions are set to persist for parts of the Western Cape as well as the western areas of the Northern Cape. Then towards the evening, it will be fine once again for much of the interior, and we will see quite a bit of cloud creeping into parts of the south coast. Now, here's a closer look at what you can expect for your province. It will be mostly sunny and sizzling hot for much of the Northern Cape. Appington shooting to around 37 degrees on Thursday afternoon. Another punishingly hot day is forecast for parts of the Western Cape, especially around Oshon and also Vredendal. Cape Town will see a cooling with a high of around 30 expected. It will be mostly sunny and hot as well for much of the Eastern Cape, partly cloudy and comfortably warm for Port Elizabeth, peaking at 27 degrees. Sunny and hot weather is also forecast across much of KwaZulu-Natal, where highs in the lower to mid-30s are expected. We're also going to see clear skies for the Mpumalanga province, Mbombela, peaking at 32 degrees. It will be partly cloudy for eastern Limpopo, but it will stay warm to hot for the province throughout your Thursday. We are going to see sunny and hot weather persisting over the northwest, and similar conditions are forecast for the Free State, Bloemfontein, peaking at around 33 degrees. Gauteng should see sunny skies on Thursday with highs in the upper 20s and lower 30s. Now, quickly looking to the end of the week, it will be sunny and hot for much of South Africa, just a bit of cloud over the south coast. That's all from me for now, Sally. Back to you.
Very much, Joel Guy there in Cape Town. And finally, let's pay tribute to Double HP. We heard news of his passing this afternoon. His family has asked for privacy. They say they're going to tell us more later in the week. The government has sent their condolences to his family and, of course, his fans. But let's remember him the best way we know, through this wonderful hit, Boso Kimang. He remains the boss. Let's recap our top story before we go. And the finance minister delivers the stark truth about our economy, plagued by corruption, a troubled tax collection authority and faltering growth, but some rays of hope to stimulate growth and provide for the poor. From me and the team, it's a very good night.